Good evening everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel AgriAddict. So we have seen the roadmap and the strategy to crack the ICAR JRF examination in the last video, and hopefully we have completed the first lecture of extension yesterday. I hope the lecture would have helped you a lot to start your preparation. So today we will be starting the portions of agricultural economics. So today we are planning to give a basic concept or an introduction to the world of economics as well as the world of agricultural economics. So our plan goes like this. First two classes will be uploaded in the YouTube channel, and the rest of the classes will be regularly taken, and those who are interested in our content for your preparation for 2016 or 2017 ICAR JRF examination as well as other competitive examination which make use of agricultural economics, you can join our master course, and regularly the notes soon after the completion of the classes it will be uploaded in our portal, and feel free to give the feedbacks in our chat section. So welcome to the world of agricultural economics. Let me introduce myself. I am Ajay Antosoi. I have completed my undergraduation from College of Agriculture, Padanakkad, Kerala Agricultural University, and I did my masters in the subject of agricultural economics from College of Agriculture, Rajendra Nagar, Professor Jayashankar, Telangana State Agricultural University, and currently I am pursuing my third year PhD in the same subject in Indian Agriculture Research Institute, New Delhi. In the year of 2021, I have secured All India Rank 27 in the ICAR JRF examination, and in the year of 2023, I have secured 4th rank in the ICAR SRF examination, and I am an ASRB net holder also. Yes, so before starting to the realm of economics, let's start from our families. Okay, so let me introduce my family to you. My family is having 5 members, so I have a father, mother, and younger siblings, and a brother and sister is there. So likewise, you will be having your family members, maybe earning members would be there, maybe non-earning members would be there, and the earning members would be generating the money for all the resources that you have to generate or make use of it in your family, right? So maybe my father and mother are earning, they will be generating income from their jobs, and they will be earning some money. So from that money, they will be building their homes, or maybe buying the utilities, whichever is needed for them as well as the dependent community, that is the siblings or the second generation, right? So it's really it's an interesting factor that how actually these resources are allocated between my family members. Suppose if my mother and father are planning their kitchen activities, what we have to prepare in the next day for the next breakfast meal, so that planning will be carried out in such a way that this much quantity of dosha or idli or sambar should be given to father, right? Okay, 3 idlis would be eating by my father, maybe 2 or 3 would be by mother, and maybe my younger sibling would not be having 3 idlis, maybe 1 or 2 only she would be having, right? So upon the limited resources or upon the resources that the family or the kitchen facility is having, they have to allocate or plan, and that planning also not at all confined to the next meal, but also maybe the day after tomorrow's meal, or maybe the lunch, dinner, and all other meal times, right? So if we are expanding the same concept to the entire world, as we know, Earth is the only living planet as far as we know, and we are having lot of living organisms present, including the human beings, right? So God has given too much natural resources, right? The air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, so there are unlimited, or we consider it as unlimited natural resources. But in fact, as we know, maybe you would have seen in some of the articles, or maybe in the news, or maybe in the social media posts, that the fossil fuels are getting burned out. We have to go for some conventional or what we sustainable energy generation techniques, right? Why? Because it is actually getting exhausted, because the population is increasing, the demand is increasing, or the requirements of the people is also increasing. So therefore, among the available natural resources which is confined in the earth, or in the surface, or in the below the surface of the earth, it has to be equitably distributed among the members. It can be human beings, it can be varying from a single celled organism to very advanced persons like humans or developed organisms like humans, right? So how good actually these resources can be equally or equitably distributed among the members of the living organisms in such a way that their requirements are getting satisfied. This is the basic idea of economics, and all the economic theory, all the concepts that we are going to learn from this entire master course will be based upon this idea. This is the core concept. So as we can see, earth is abundant with natural resources, which includes crude oil, land resources, animal resources, water resources, wind power and solar energy, forest resources, natural gas. So one or the other way, this is actually made utilized by the members of the whole family of this earth, right? So how good actually we have to distribute in such a way that the requirements of each member gets satisfied and they will feel like, okay, their requirement is getting satisfied. So this is the basic idea or the key concept of economics. So coming to the basic definitions and the subject matter of economics. So the term economics is derived from two Greek words. This language is important because maybe a simple question would be asked in the final examination in such a way that the key word of economics is derived from which language. It can be Greek, it can be Latin, it can be French. So it actually derived from two Greek words. What are those two Greek words? Oikos and nomos, and together it's oikonomikas. Oikonomikas, the Greek word, is actually the key word from which the term economics has been derived, and oikos means household and nomos means management. Together the word economics is actually defined as household management. So I guess you can relate the concept that we have started with this term, that is household management. How better our family or our family members is actually allocating the limited resources among the family members between my father, mother and my younger brother and sisters. So before economics have started like a scientific subject, it was actually termed as economic activity. What is actually an economic activity? Any activity which is to fulfill the requirements arising out of various needs. When I am waking up out of nowhere, I am feeling hungry. So in order to meet the requirement of that hunger, I may have to produce some food, right? Maybe I will be, so if we are going to the prehistoric times, people used to go for hunting and gathering, right? So after those resources became limited, they started cultivating because they came to realize that, okay, these many lands near the river side is actually fertile. So therefore if we are sowing some seeds there, the plants are getting raised and they can cultivate the crop by themselves, right? So all these activities, which starts from hunting and gathering to the cultivation of rice, wheat or whatever it is, and the most advanced technological activities which we are doing right now, even the activity that you are doing right now for your learning purpose is nothing but you want to make a career out of it, and out of which you can meet your requirements or the basic needs, right? So from hunting and gathering to the very moment, it can be considered as an economic activity. Why? Because it is an activity which is to fulfill the requirements arising out of various needs. The needs would be maybe learning process would be a need, or maybe getting a fellowship in your PG seat would be a requirement, or maybe getting a good college for your career, or maybe having a space to prepare for some other examination would be a need, right? So these are the requirements, and out of these requirements, whatever activity that we are performing, that can be considered as an economic activity. This is the what we call for it, the basic concept before which actually the economics has been developed to a proper subject. And what is the need for studying economics? Why actually the economics is so important, or why we are learning economics as a separate subject stream? So it's because the basic idea is wants are unlimited and the means to satisfy them are limited. As we have already discussed, like I have given you a case scenario of the fossil fuels. We know that the fossil fuels are in fact generated upon the biological and geographical processes of millions of years, right? And it is having almost a fixed quantity. So out of this fixed quantity, how good actually it can be distributed upon the requirements of the different countries. That is one point. And the second point is, if it is getting exhausted, or it is going to be exhausted in maybe in 50 years or maybe 100 years, so how judiciously we have to use it, and for whom we have to distribute it. Who is having more requirement, they have to get it in a higher quantity, right? So therefore wants are unlimited. If we are comparing the requirements of each and every nations in the world, every nation will be having the requirement of usage of this fossil fuels, but means to satisfy them are limited, because the amount or the actual quantity of the fossil fuels which is present in the earth is very limited, right? So therefore wants are unlimited, and the means to satisfy or the ways to satisfy those wants are very much limited. And here comes the importance of studying economics as a separate subject stream. And scarcity can be considered as the pivot of all the economic activity. Imagine that if you are having, see, this is a hypothetical scenario that maybe in some Puranas and all, you would have heard of the concept of Akshaya Patra, right? Like whatever things that you wish to have, you can just grab it from that bag. So that if that was the case, then there is no scope of learning economics. Why? Because there is no scarcity at all. Whatever we wish, it is there. But in fact, in the real world, people are competing. Why? Because scarcity is there, right? Why there is actually a competition for ICAR JRF examination? Because the seats are limited. Am I correct or what? So that's why actually you are choosing a learning platform to learn it effectively, or else you could have learned it by yourself, right? So that much competition is there for JRF seats, or maybe the subject seats are very limited. So scarcity is actually the pivot of this economic activity. That's why you are choosing to learn agricultural economics right now, right? So scarcity is the pivot of all the economic activity. So this is actually the basic idea, and what for actually we are going to study economics as a separate subject stream. So coming to some of the basic concepts before which we are entering into the deeper concepts. The first one is the economic systems. So there are different economic systems which is practiced in the world. Okay, so we'll start from the last one first. Then the fifth one is given as barter economic system. You would have studied in your school days what is actually a barter system, right? A commodity for a commodity. If I want to purchase paddy, I will be going to the market, but I will be having another item in my hand, right? Maybe I would have cultivated banana, so I would be exchanging this banana with paddy for some of the other farmers who is actually bringing paddy, right? But this barter economic system is actually the ancient kind of exchange system, and this was actually practiced, but maybe because of the what we call for it different consequences, or maybe different faults of the system, this was actually totally abolished from the world, right? So which includes double coincidence of the wants. What if I need two commodities? Like, okay, when I am going to purchase some products, I need rice as well as vegetables, but I am not able to find a farmer who's actually giving both of those things, right? And I just have only banana to exchange with it. Then what I will do? So this double coincidence of the wants. Then lack of the standard unit of account. I will be having a bunch of banana, but the farmer would be having maybe 10 quintals of paddy. How it is even comparable? So lack of standard unit of account. Then impossibility of subdividing the goods, right? So maybe if I have produced a phone, okay, I have produced a phone, and another one is actually trying to purchase some paddy or something. So maybe the like the coincidence of the wants, as well as I can't split the phone into two, because I have just produced one. So that is another issue. So these were actually the basic faults of the barter economic system. So that's how actually it got totally abolished. Then again, there are some of the major economic system that you can even today also you can find out. Normally, if you are seeing all the systems, capitalist, socialist, communist system, you would be finding it really difficult exactly whether the system is practiced today or not, because when you are matching the system with the examples, you would be finding it difficult, like, okay, this is actually not in fact which is practiced right now, but this is actually by the basic basic book idea, we have to go for what actually they have given as examples. So when I am explaining this, you would be understanding, I guess. The first one is capitalist economic system. So whenever you want to understand what is actually happening in the capitalist economic system, you should think countries like USA and UK. So there, in fact, the factors of production means the land, labor, capital as well as organization will be owned by the private agencies or private people or maybe people, right? There is no such strict government intervention there. Government is still there, but at the same time actually there this is also known as market economy. Market economy. Why it is called as market economy? Because the factors of production are dealt by or owned by private agencies. So therefore exactly the demand as well as supply is playing a major role in exchange of the commodities in the case of capitalist economic system. And here what is the major intention of the capitalist economic system? It's nothing but profit generation. So if you are going to such a company or such a country, those companies will be hiring a person for a job until and unless they have enough skills set and they are competent enough among the people who are coming for the job interview, right? So the most what we call for it, the most deserving person, the person who is having the needed skill set or the competency would be selected in the case of the capitalist economic system. Why? Because they have to perform very well in order to get the profit, right? So therefore here the factors of production is actually owned by the private people or the private individuals or maybe individual persons, you can say. The second one is socialist economic system. This is just exact opposite that of the capitalist economic system. If in capitalist economic system, when the factors of production was owned by the individual persons or private agencies, in socialist economic system you can see much more government intervention, but government intervention was not much there in the case of capitalist economic system. In the case of socialist economic system, the government intervention is there so that they will be trying to produce the products or they will be trying to generate the products whichever needed for their own citizens or their own people. Yes, so in the case of socialist economic system you can see much more government intervention, and this is actually not for profit oriented, this is more or less welfare oriented. So in the case of socialist economic system, they will be trying to generate the goods and services whichever needed for the people who are living in that country or in that system, and this will be much more welfare oriented. You can see this system in the former USSR or the Russian Federation. Then comes the communist economic system. What happens in the communist economic system? In communist economic system, this is actually an extreme political system. The extreme form of socialist economic system can be found in the communist economic system, and this was practiced in the People's Republic of China. Okay, so this is also known as government with bullets. Government with bullets. Whatever plans which are laid by the government, that has to be followed by the people. So the people will not be having that much involvement in the planning process of the system. The government will be laying out the plan and the people have to follow whatever the plans that is actually given by the government. But in the case of socialist economic system, it's much more flexible. Then comes the mixed economic system, which is actually of much more importance in the real world scenario, which is also practiced in the country like India. So in the mixed economic system, this is actually a mixture of the first two systems, that is capitalist economic system as well as socialist economic system. Why? Capitalist economic system, the feature of capitalist economic system, that is existence of the private agencies in focusing on the profit, will be coexisting with the government system in the case of mixed economic system. So therefore there is government intervention. Why? Because do you really think like in the capitalist economic system, obviously the profit will be generated from the national point of view, but those people who are having no land or maybe who are poor, who is having no much investment capacity, is actually not at all having any opportunity to grow their businesses, but at the same time those who are having enough investment capacity or enough capital to be raised, they will be growing richer and richer. So in the case of capitalist economic system, what is going to happen? The richer becomes richer and the poorer becomes poorer, but overall the profit will be increased in the national scenario. But in the case of socialist system, another like in the case of capitalist system, socialist system was also having some drawbacks, because government will be just promoting those people or just focusing on the welfare. So obviously there will not be much importance to the profit generation. So therefore obviously year by year what is going to happen? Enough profit is not generated, enough national income is not generated, they are just focusing on the people's welfare. So the competency will be totally lost, and maybe similar subsequent problems is going to happen. But in the case of mixed economy, these drawbacks can be complementing with the merits of the both systems, right? Because the profit generating capacity of the capitalist system as well as welfare generation capacity of the socialist system is mixed here, so that the private and public agencies will be working on par. So this mixed economic system is giving much flexibility for the evolution of the private enterprises, which is actually becoming the backbone of the investment and infrastructure like the country of India. Also government will be actually watching as a watchdog. They will not be they will be monitoring the entire process, so that rich people as well as poor people is going to get equitable distribution of the resources as well as opportunities is ensured by the government agencies. So this is actually the basic economic systems which are prevailed or used to prevail in the world economy. I hope it's clear. Yes. So coming to the subject matter of economics. So subject matter of economics constitute majorly three elements, that is wants, effort as well as satisfaction. A basic idea of the subject matter we have discussed in the first slide, but again we are going to see why actually this subject matter is a circle. Okay, so every need is actually arising out of wants. In fact, every need is arising out of our requirement for food, right? Because hunger is the very needed or the first basic need that has to be satisfied for every living organism, right? Without food we can't survive. We may survive with maybe weeks or maybe days or maybe hours, but after that we can't survive, right? So hunger is the basic want which has to be satisfied primarily. So imagine that the first want which is actually arising for me is hunger. So for satisfying that want or to get overcome with the problem of hunger, I may have to eat something. To eat something, either I have to go to a hotel or I should cultivate something in my home, right? So in order to go to a hotel, I should get some income. So how the income is generated? I have to do some work, right? So that is nothing but the effort. Or if I am cultivating that in my courtyard, then what actually I am going to do? I have to make my efforts in the agriculture, right? So therefore in order to satisfy my wants, I will be doing some effort, right? So from the effort I got some money, or I got this produce or inputs that has to be consumed. Then from effort I will be cooking something, or I will be eating from something from the hotel. I will be getting the satisfaction. Does that process is over? No, because in the next meal time, maybe in the lunch or then after the dinner, then again tomorrow again the breakfast, lunch, dinner, this is actually again rotating, right? So the want of hunger is getting, efforts are made to overcome that problem of hunger, and after making the efforts I am getting the satisfaction. And this is not even confined with the single want, that is hunger. Okay, what if I am having enough income generating capacity to overcome that basic need of hunger? Again the clothing, shelter, everything is ready, but still I will be generated with more wants, right? Because after that I will be needing to build my career. Then after that I have to build a house, buy a bike. Then even if I buy a bike, maybe after 2 or 3 years I would be feeling like, okay, I should not confine with a bike, I have to buy a car, right? So the wants are again regenerated. So this wants are expanding, it's unlimited, and as much as wants are expanded, we will be putting more efforts and we will be getting more satisfaction. But as we know, man is greedy, the wants will not stop at any point of time, right? So till death we will be upgrading our wants, and for that wants we will be giving our efforts and we will be getting the satisfaction. So this is the basic subject matter of economics. Coming to some of the basic definitions of economics, there were multiple questions in the previous year question papers, as you can refer, but this is very easy. So majorly we have 4 definitions for economics. The first one is wealth definition by Adam Smith. So Adam Smith is also known as the father of economics. Okay, so father of economics is Adam Smith, and he have given more emphasis on the concept of wealth. So that's why this definition is also known as wealth definition. So in the year of 1776, he have written a book named Wealth of Nations. Wealth of Nations. So in this book, Wealth of Nations, he have defined economics. This is actually the first formal definition of economics, before which Aristotle have tried to give a definition, but he have not defined economics as a subject matter or as a subject. But in this year 1776, in the book of Wealth of Nations, Adam Smith has defined economics as an inquiry into the nature and causes of wealth of nations. 2 parts are there, an inquiry into the nature and causes of wealth of nations. So what are the causes of wealth which is generated in the different countries? That is actually dealt with economics. That was the basic definition or the first formal definition which is given by Adam Smith for economics. And the second one is welfare definition. Similar way, he have given more emphasis in his definition on the concept of welfare of the people, and this definition was given by Alfred Marshall in his book of Principle of Economics. Principle of Economics. So in the book Principle of Economics, Alfred Marshall has defined economics as a study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. This term is really important, ordinary business of life. So how actually a man is going to behave in his ordinary business of life, that is actually the subject of economics. That was the definition given by Alfred Marshall, which is also called as welfare definition. Okay, and the book wherein this definition was specified was Principle of Economics. So after that, Alfred Marshall's definition was criticized by another scientist, which is also whose name is Lionel Robbins, and he have given another a little more improved version of the definition of economics, that is also known as scarcity definition of economics. First we can see what was actually the point wherein Lionel Robbins was criticizing Alfred Marshall's definition. The first point is Alfred Marshall's definition considered economics as a social science. Okay. So Alfred Marshall's definition considered economics as a social science. Social science. But Lionel Robbins told that economics should be considered as a human science rather than treating it as a social science. So Lionel Robbins given more emphasis on the human side, human science. Okay, so he have criticized on the first aspect that Alfred Marshall have considered economics as a social science, but it has to be treated as a human science. That is actually a little more best version, that according to the version of Lionel Robbins. The second one is, see, this definition of Alfred Marshall is actually showing the study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. That is, when a man is happy and healthy, what is actually happening in his life. That was the major emphasis of Alfred Marshall's definition. But there are some extraordinary conditions also which may have to happen. For example, do you really thought in your school days that the world has to shut down for almost 1 year during the COVID pandemic? That was actually something which has never happened in the human history, right? The entire world has to shut down themselves. They have to depend on some of the other sources to at least sustain for a period of time just because of a microorganism, right? That was an extraordinary business. Then we know war is coming, some aggression kind of things are happening, or maybe some pandemics are happening. These are some of the extraordinary conditions or situations. So at that point of time also the human behavior has to be defined, but that area was not emphasized by Alfred Marshall. So that was the second point for which Alfred Marshall got criticism because of Lionel Robbins. So in order to overcome the flaws of Alfred Marshall's definition, Lionel Robbins has given the definition of scarcity definition. So here the emphasis was given scarcity, and by seeing the definition itself we will be understanding that this definition is much advanced version of the previous definitions. So here economics is the science which studies the human behavior. Obviously it is a study of the human behavior, how actually a human is going to behave in certain conditions. So what are the conditions? As a relationship between ends and scarce means which have alternative uses. So here we have two important terms, ends as well as scarce means. So here Lionel Robbins actually is also known as the first scientist to explain economics in the scientific way. Okay, so the first scientific definition of economics was given by Alfred Marshall. So scarcity definition can be considered as the scientific definition of economics. So Lionel Robbins has given the scarcity definition, and this is the first scientific definition of economics. And here we have two terms, that is ends as well as scarce means. What is this ends? Ends is nothing but the actual requirements or wants or the needs of the people, right? So relationship between the requirements of a man with the scarce means which have alternative uses. For example, right now like the time is almost 7:30, it's almost dinner time, right? So I am feeling hungry right now for my dinner, so that is actually my requirement, right? This is the end, the hunger for the dinner. Then there are scarce means, right? Why? Because either I can go to the mess to have my dinner, or maybe I can choose not to have dinner today, or maybe I can go out to have something in a hotel, right? So in order to satisfy my hunger, I have ample opportunities. I chose not to have, I can have it from mess, I can have from hotel, and the food that I am going to choose from a hotel is also can be varied. Like see, I can have plain rice or I can have biryani, right? So there are alternative means to satisfy my end or satisfy my want. So how as a consumer or a human being my behavior is going to choose between these alternatives, that is actually the study of economics. This was the basic idea where Lionel Robbins has given through the scarcity definition. So economics is a science which studies the human behavior as a relationship between the ends as well as the scarce means, because there are limitations, right? Like I can't what we call for it, if some 5-star hotel is there nearby and if I am not able to consume food from there, it's actually, see, competition is there. So I would be choosing a hotel with food which is provided at lesser price, right? So there are only scarce means to get the food at an affordable price, and in order to satisfy my hunger or in order to meet my end, I have to find a scarce means which also have alternative uses. So this is actually the third definition which is given by Lionel Robbins, the first scientific definition, and this definition also considered economics as a human science. Another thing is this welfare definition is actually only considered the material welfare of the people. This is another important point, material welfare of the people. See, welfare can be defined in the terms of material as well as immaterial. For example, if I am having a phone, this is actually a material welfare. If a person is having good clothes, good attire and having a bike, car or maybe a home, we can say that okay, that person is rich or that person is in a welfare mode. Okay, we can say, but it's not only the material things that actually make welfare for a person. What if that person is suffering from severe cold or an unrecoverable disease? We cannot say that no matter what material aspect he is actually having, he will be maybe in 1 or 2 weeks he is going to die. So we can't say that that person is having some welfare, right? So welfare should be considered from two perspectives, that is material as well as non-material. Here this welfare definition of Alfred Marshall has just considered the material welfare of the people. The non-material welfare of the people was actually not considered. Okay, that is another point to be taken care of, this welfare definition. And in the case of scarcity definition, remember this point that Lionel Robbins has treated economics as a positive science. Okay, just a positive science. Positive science. We will be seeing what is actually positive science in the following slides. So just consider it as a positive science. Then finally the fourth definition, that is growth definition by Paul Samuelson. So Paul Samuelson, you will be studying Paul Samuelson in the further classes as the propounder of revealed preference theory. Also Paul Samuelson has defined economics as queen of social sciences. Okay, economics was called as queen of social sciences by Paul Samuelson. So growth definition is a comprehensive and a bigger definition. Usually this will not be asked in the questions, because just they will be, usually they will be asking the match the following kind of questions, the name of definitions as well as the maybe the books that they have propounded, then also maybe the persons who have propounded those definitions. Such kind of questions are used to asked in the examination. So growth definition by Paul Samuelson is nothing but economics is the study of how men and society choose with or without money to employ the scarce productive resources which could have alternative uses to produce various commodities over time and distribute them for consumption now and in future among various people and the groups of society. So this actually comprehends all the previous definitions. Also they are giving some additions regarding the distribution of the commodities, consumption of the commodities now and in future, not only the present consumption but also in the future consumption among the various people and groups of the society. So this actually made a little more progress. So there is one interesting definition. This is also known as the pragmatic definition of economics. Economics is what economists do. Economics is what economists do. If I am an economist, what I am doing is nothing but economics. So this is actually the pragmatic definition of economics. This was given by Jacob Weiner. So while doing much of the multiple choice questions in the Nirmal Ravi Kumar book and all that we have specified in the first class or during the route map preparation of the preparation, in that book you would be finding several definitions also. These are the basic definitions which are usually or frequently asked, but you may find other definitions also. Many scientists have given different types of explanations or different types of definitions. So as much as possible just try to by heart it, and these from the exam perspective these are the major definitions that you have to follow. Coming to the divisions of economics. So there are two approaches to understand the divisions of economics. The first one is traditional approach and second one is the modern approach. So according to the traditional approach, the economics is divided into four major concepts, that is production, consumption, exchange and distribution. Let's take an example. If I am a farmer, imagine that I am a paddy farmer. So what I would be doing, I would be buying some seeds of rice and I would be cultivating it, sowing it and doing all the agricultural operations associated with the paddy cultivation. I would be harvesting it, threshing it and selling it in the market. So this entire process can be considered as the production process. So from the input we are creating some output, or the inputs are converted into the outputs. That is nothing but the production process. It is also known as, it is an activity that helps in creating the utility. Okay, creating the utility. So what is utility? Utility is nothing but, we can simply define utility as the want satisfying power of a commodity. For proper understanding, let's say utility as satisfaction right now. In fact, utility is not satisfaction. We will be dealing this concept in detail in the next class, but for understanding as a basic concept, utility is nothing but equals to satisfaction. Satisfaction. If you are seeing this video and if you feel like, okay, this video or this lecture is going to help in my examination, that is actually some satisfaction. So we can say that this video or this lecture has got some utility to you. I hope that's clear. Jacob Weiner. Yes. Are you getting my point? Can you follow me? Can somebody reply me in the chat? Yes. So, yes, in the production process, it's actually creating. It's also known as creation of the utility. So it's nothing but making some products that is going to give you some satisfaction. So imagine that I am a paddy producer, or I am a paddy farmer. I would be producing rice. Obviously it is going to help you to satisfy your hunger, right? It's going to help your satisfy your hunger. So obviously rice is going to get some utility, right? You are getting satisfied with rice, so therefore rice is getting some utility, and that rice is produced by the production process. So this production process can be also called as creation of utility, right? So it's also known as creation of utility. Then what is consumption? This is just the concept opposite to that of production. What is consumption? Imagine that I am a consumer. I am not a producer, I am a consumer. That is, I am a layman, I am just going to the market, I am buying some rice from the market. Why? Because I want to satisfy my hunger, right? So I would be buying some rice from the shop, I would be coming to my home, I would be cooking it, I would be eating it, right? So my satisfaction, my hunger or my requirement is totally getting satisfied. So therefore it means the use of wealth in satisfying innumerable wants. So how come I am going to shop and buying the paddy or buying the rice? I would be having some income, I would be having some cash in my pocket, right? So this is also can be considered as a wealth. So I am just giving off my wealth to get some of the things to satisfy my my want, right? My want was hunger, so I am using my money, my wealth, to the shopkeeper to get some products to satisfy my innumerable human wants. That is nothing but the process of consumption. This is also known as destruction of utility. Production was also known as creation of utility. Why consumption is known as destruction of utility? It's because once paddy or the rice is produced by the farmer, some satisfaction power is created for that product, right? Once I buy it from the shop and if I eat it, there is no more rice. There is no more rice to give somebody else some satisfaction, right? So therefore, through the process of consumption, the utility which is created via production will be totally destructed. So therefore, consumption is also known as destruction of utility. I hope it's clear. Then the third one, which is an important concept, that is exchange. So what is exchange? Transfer of goods from one person to another. Exchange is nothing but, see, the process that actually happened when I went to the shopkeeper, that is nothing but the process of exchange, because there was the paddy which was produced by the producer, rice farmer. There is a farmer there is a consumer who actually want to satisfy his hunger through the process of consumption. So this farmer as well as the consumer, or this producer as well as the consumer, exchanges this product, because the consumer is exchanging his wealth to the farmer and the farmer is actually exchanging the production process or the produced output through the production process to the consumer. So this process of exchanging the product from the point of production to the consumption end is also known as exchange. So it's nothing but the transfer of goods from one person to another. The exchange of paddy from the farmer to the final consumer is also known as the exchange. And final one, this is distribution, even more important concept. What is distribution? So before starting to the concept of distribution, we have to understand what are the factors of production. Factors of production is nothing but those agents which helps me to produce a particular product. Okay, so imagine that I am a paddy farmer. So the output which is desired to produce is nothing but paddy. So what all the things that actually helps me to produce paddy? I should have some land, right? But if I am having maybe acres of land and I have no people to work on it, there is no paddy at all, right? So the first factor of production can be considered as land, right? Land should be there. Second one, people should be there to work, workers should be there, or efforts should be made to make this cultivation practice as a success, right? That can be called as labor. Okay, this labor can be our own labor, like if I am working on it, it's my own labor. But if I am hiring some workers to do the works, then that can be hired labor, right? So different kind of labor also would be used. So land is there, labor is there, then another thing also needed, right? Seeds should be there, fertilizer should be there, pesticides should be there, irrigation should be there, machineries, implements, all those things should be there in order to get the production process in a success way. That can be considered as the capital. So we have three major factors of production. Land is there, labor is there, capital is there. So I have ample amount of land, I have ample amount of workers, and I have ample amount of this seeds, fertilizers, pesticides. What if I don't know how to cultivate it, right? So in order to go for a successful production process, another important process or another important factor should be there. That is nothing but the organization. What is organization? If I am the farmer manager or if I own the land, I should be capable of organizing this land, labor, capital in such a way that this production process should be resulting in a fruitful manner, right? If I don't have any idea on paddy cultivation, this is going to be a failure. We will not be getting the expected results, or we would not be producing any paddy out of it, right? So because like I should be thorough with the season where I should start the cultivation, such and such kind of things. Maybe when the pest outbreak comes, when some diseases are appeared, what should I do? That all comes in the fourth point, that is organization. So these four are the basic factors of production. So in any production program, let it be paddy production, let it be any IT company, or let it be even running your college, there will be factors of production. Land will be there, labor will be there, capital will be there, organization will be there. We will be having a separate chapter to discuss what are the factors of production and the theories behind this factors of production. So just for the understanding, consider land, labor, capital as well as organization can be considered as the factors of production. So how can we relate this process, the concept of factors of production, with the process of distribution? So what is actually the distribution? Also we are going again we are going to an example. Okay, sharing of wealth produced by the community among the agents of production. Imagine that I am a paddy farmer and I have cultivated almost 10 quintals of rice. Successfully doing this organizing, I have made use of land, labor, capital and organization, and I have made 10 quintals of paddy and I have successfully marketed it. Imagine that, okay, this is a rough estimate. Imagine that I got maybe 5 lakh rupees I have generated from this paddy production. Okay, this 10 quintals I have sold in the market and I am getting 5 lakh rupees from the market, and this is the wealth generated by the producer, right? So I got 5 lakhs after successfully marketing this 10 quintals of paddy. So this 5 lakh rupees I have to distribute among the factors of production, right? A part of this 5 lakh rupees I have to pay for land. A part of this 5 lakh rupees I have to pay for labor. A part of 5 lakh rupees I have to pay for capital, and finally for organizing it successfully I also should be getting some revenue, right? For whatever works somebody have done, we have to give the money back for the services that they have rendered, right? So land, labor, capital and organization has rendered their services, and for their services we have to pay back, right? So for land we will be paying it back as rent, right? And for labor we will be giving wages, right? Salary, obviously you would be having a confusion with salary. We will be clarifying this thing when we are dealing the factors of production in detail in the further classes. So for labor we should be paying the wages, and for capital we should be paying the interest, and for organization, if I am the farmer manager, I am desiring the profits, right? So for organization it's profits. So distribution is nothing but transferring the wealth which is produced among the community or among the agents of production in terms of in terms of rent, wage, interest and profit. I have to pay my wealth to the different factors of production such as land, labor, capital and organization. So this is the basic idea of division of economics from the traditional perspective. Okay, and coming to the next slide, the modern approach, this you would be familiar with, and this is the basic first two major sub-subject groups that we are going to discuss. So according to the modern approach, economics is divided into microeconomics and macroeconomics. So as you all know, micro, this term micro is actually coming from a Greek word micro. So this means small. So what actually microeconomics? Economics which deals with individual units. It can be individual consumers, it can be individual producers. So I have given many examples right now, right? Imagine that a paddy farmer is there, imagine that an individual consumer who is going to buy paddy is there. So we are trying to figure out how actually the behavior of the producer or consumer is behaving in an individual way. That is dealt with the microeconomics. And microeconomics is also known as price theory. This is an important concept, price theory, and deals with the individual units like individual consumers, firms, individual producers. All those things will be coming under microeconomics. Coming to macroeconomics, macro, the Greek word means large. You all know that, right? And it deals with the larger aggregates or economy as a whole. So microeconomics, I will be telling you why actually we have to deal this microeconomics and macroeconomics. Why can't we generalize the theories of microeconomics to the whole population? So when we are going to see the macroeconomics in the introduction class, I would be explaining it why actually we can't use the theories of microeconomics in an aggregate population like a country or a nation or a continent. Okay, because the behavior of the individual units would be totally different when it is actually occurring in a group or in an aggregate way. So it has to be studied as a separate discipline. So macroeconomics is actually originated in 1935-36 after the Great Depression, which was occurred during 1929 to 1935, and the proponent or the father of microeconomics is also known as J.M. Keynes. As a separate discipline, we will be studying the macroeconomics. Still, just giving you an introduction. So J.M. Keynes written a book which is also known as A Theory of Employment, Interest and Money. So in that book he have dealt much of the theories in the macroeconomics, and this actually deals with the larger aggregate or economy as a whole, and this one is also known as the income theory. So if microeconomics was also known as price theory, macroeconomics is also known as income theory. I hope it's clear. So this is the modern approach of division of economics. Then coming to another concept. So as you all know, economics is also treated as art as well as science. So economics can be defined as art as well as science. So why economics is called as art? Why? Because for majority of the problems, economics is giving some solutions. So since it is giving the solutions only, we are defining the theories or we are developing the theories. So these theories can explain some of the problems with some solutions, right? So it's because of that economics can be considered as an art. Then why economics is considered as a science? Because in order to call something science, it has to follow a systematic procedure, right? They would be collecting some data, they would be analyzing those data, they would be generalizing it, they would be testing it, and after that only it will be proclaimed as a theory. So this entire systematic scientific procedure is used in the case of economics. So therefore economics is also known as science. So economics is both art as well as science, and economics can be defined in two ways, that is economics is a positive science and economics is a normative science. So before explaining what is economics, why economics is treated as a positive and normative science, we can understand that what is actually positive science and normative science. So positive science is nothing but a science which is concerned with the way the economic relationships are present in the different economic activities. So you would be familiar with the universal law of gravity, which is proposed by Isaac Newton, right? So force of gravity between two objects is nothing but g m1 m2 divided by r square. So it's nothing but the force of gravity is directly proportional to the mass, the product of the masses of two products, and inversely proportional to the square of distance between them. This is actually a universal equation, right? So if you have the mass of the two products, that is if you have mass of earth and mass of moon, and if you have the distance between them, you can obviously find out what is the force of gravity in between that. Okay, if you have force of gravity and mass of two objects, then obviously you can find out the distance between those things, right? So this is actually to and fro motion. This actually just explains the way the economic relationships are present. What is the relationship between the gravitational force with the distance? What is the relationship between the gravitational force with the mass of the objects? It is nothing but the cause and effect relationship, right? Just cause and effect relationship of the economic activity will be identified by the positive signs. So therefore, since economics, much of the theories or laws which is propounded during the economic in the field of economics as explaining the cause and effect, it is treated as a positive science. But what is normative science? Positive science is actually deals with the question of what is. Okay, the question of what is. The question is what is. Okay, so what is the reason for gravitational force? It's because the major determinants of the gravitational force is mass of the objects and distance between the objects, right? So it's just explain the question of what is. Then what actually about normative economics? Here the question is what ought to be, what ought to be, or what should be, what should be. When positive economics just explains the cause and effect relationship, this normative economics explains what should be after this. Okay, this has been explained. So what should happen after this? Okay, because of you or using this idea, what should happen tomorrow? That is actually dealt with the normative economics. So it studies the way that economic relationships ought to be. Okay, here the question is what is, here is the question is what ought to be or what should be. So this is a little more evaluative in nature. Imagine that we have the total population from the census data from 1901 to 2011. Okay, from 1901 to 2011 we have the census data, and when we are analyzing the trend, we are understanding that the population is increasing, showing an increasing trend over the years, and we know actually how much resources are there in our country, right? And if the amount of resources which is generated in the country and the amount of population growth in the country is not matching, we economists will be giving a policy that our population control should be population should be controlled, or some population control policy should be admitted, or in order to increase the according to the increase in the population growth, we may have to go for some additional programs to increase the food production or resource production, right? So this is actually evaluative in nature. Upon the previous data, we are expecting, okay, after 50 years this is going to happen, so we have to take care. So what, upon what perspectives we have to take care, that is actually given in the normative science. So this question explains the evaluative nature of economics, and the policy making is essentially a normative character. So there are different policies, right? The fertilizers policy is there, food policy is there. You would be studying it in detail during your master's program. So just understand just understand that the positive science explains just the cause effect relationship, normative science explains the evaluative nature of economics. So therefore economics is both positive science as well as normative science. So in the previous slide, we have also told that Lionel Robbins considered economics as a positive science. So I think you can relate that thing right now. Yes. Yes, I guess like we can follow these slides in the next class. Coming to some of the previous year questions. So yes, the first question match the following. I guess you can answer in the chat box. The first question, it was actually asked in the 2023 social science examination. So it's actually a match the following question. Name of the book with the author it has been asked. The first one is An Inquiry in the Nature of Causes of Wealth of Nations. Second one is Principles of Economics. Third one is General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money. And the fourth one is Theory of Monopolistic Competition. Then name of the author, Alfred Marshall, Adam Smith, E.H. Chamberlain and J.M. Keynes. I guess you can answer. Yes. Yes. So as we have studied, this was the first book which were actually giving the definition of economics, that is An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of Wealth of Nations. We have studied, this was the wealth definition of economics, which was given by none other than the father of economics, who is none other than Adam Smith. So A can be connected with option 2, right? Second one, principles of economics. This is nothing but wherein we have seen Alfred Marshall have given the welfare definition. So principle of economics was given by Alfred Marshall. In my memory, it is actually given 1960. I have some confusions. Just cross check it, and if I made a mistake here, just correct me in the chat box, or we will be correcting it in the next class. So principle of economics was given by the book was written by Alfred Marshall, and in which he have given the welfare economics welfare definition. So therefore B can be connected with the option 1. The third one, general theory of employment, interest and money. I just mentioned during the class that macroeconomics, or the child of the Great Depression, macroeconomics was actually started by this book, that is the general theory of employment, interest and money, and this was actually written by J.M. Keynes, none other than the father of macroeconomics. So C can be automatically connected with 4. So 214 and D3, C will be the correct answer here. Also you are getting an additional point here. In the market structure, we would be studying this point, the theory of monopolistic competition. In the market structure, there are different kinds of competition, perfect competition and imperfect competition. Monopolistic competition is such kind of an imperfect competition, and the basic book or the basic propounder of the theory of monopolistic competition was none other than E.H. Chamberlain. So therefore D connects with 3, and therefore C will be the correct answer here. I hope it's clear. Coming to the next question, it was asked in 2023, who coined the terms micro and macroeconomics? Who coined the terms micro and macroeconomics? I missed that point during the lecture. So term micro and macro was not given by Adam Smith or Alfred Marshall or J.S. Mill. It was given by Ragnar Frisch. Okay, it was given by Ragnar Frisch. So this is actually an additional point that you can take in your notes. So term micro as well as macro was given by Ragnar Frisch. Coming to another question of again 2023. So 3 questions from the basic lectures itself they have asked. What is the chronological sequence in the evolution of definitions in the economics? Hopefully even if you are not aware of the year of the definitions which were propounded also, we are studying as per the evolution. So first one was wealth definition, second one was welfare definition, third one was scarcity definition, and fourth one was growth definition. So therefore DCBA option D will be the correct answer here. Yes, and I guess another additional point I would like to add here is nothing but economics was considered as a dismal science. Okay, actually it was considered as a negative science by whom? That is an important question. So since economics is actually dealing with much of the negative things, maybe scarcity is the major thing. So why we are not thinking about prosperity? Why we are focusing on the scarcity? That is actually a negative thought. Actually this is not the case, but this was actually the basic idea to call economics as a dismal science. So economics was called as a dismal science. Dismal science. So this was done by 2 persons named Carlyle and Ruskin. Okay, Carlyle and Ruskin. Carlyle and Ruskin called economics as a dismal science. Then there are some other definitions also, like economics is a science that treats of wealth, which was actually given by J.B. Say. So economics, it actually deals with the term wealth, but you should not confuse that definition with the wealth definition of Adam Smith, because the exact words in the definition should be followed as much as possible. Just try to by heart. So economics is a science that treats of wealth was actually given by J.S. Mill. Then some other definition is there. Economics is something which is trying to analyze everything based on the measuring rod of money, which was actually given by Pigou. So similar kinds of definition you can find out when you are doing the MCQs and all. So from our concern, these are the major important points, and I hope this class would be really useful. So again I am trying to remind you that one more class would be taken in the YouTube session. So if you really find our content interesting, please do comment below. We are much expected with your feedbacks, and accordingly we will be altering the way of teaching also. That is first thing. Second thing, after 2 classes the remaining portions will be taken in through our application or AgriAddict platform. So whomever who are interested in our content can take the master course, and it will be really helpful, we are assuring it. And do feel free to comment down your responses and your feedbacks, most welcome. So thank you and have a nice day. Good night.